So let's take a look at partial derivative. This time to variables. We're going to compute for the partial derivative of the function f of xy with respect to x. Yan ang ibig sabihin niya. Partial derivative of the function xy with respect to x. If you remember na nataani before kahapon, what we're going to do is we make use now of not just one variable, but we have two variables. The other variable will now be considered as constant if it is with respect to x. So, ang y dire will now become constant. Treat all the y's as constants or numbers and then differentiate with respect to x. Ayan ang ibig sabihin yan. So, likewise, if we're going to compute for the partial derivative of the function with respect to y, ang constant naman natin na i-treat is your x. So, you have to treat that as constant. And if we take a look at the formal definition of the two partial derivatives, this is what it meant. Now, the partial derivative of the function xy with respect to x is equal to this quantity, the limit of this quantity minus this function over h as h approaches 0. Already are familiar with that notation before. So given the function z, we can call this function as z, it's a function in x and y, we have the following equivalent notation. So instead of simply making use of f sub x of xy, pwede na kanilang f sub x na lang. Or can we write as partial of f with respect to x, or partial of the function f of xy with respect to x, or because we rewrite z equal to this function, you can have it as z of x. So pwede po partial of z with respect to x, or sometimes use this notation. Pag fy na po, f sub y, that will be kani, or pwede po ni partial of f with respect to y, partial of the function f of xy with respect to y. Or this one, z of y. And then partial of z with respect to y, or sometimes you make use of dy of f. Most of the time, what do we make use of? We make use of this. F of x, xy, partial of f with respect to x, and f of y is partial of y with respect to y. Partial of f with respect to y. Let's try to solve the following example. Let's try to take a look at this one. Letter A. If you're asked to solve for partial derivative of this function with respect to x, then, pag with respect to x, kani, ma-zero na ni. Constant na ni siya, diba? Kay, na may variable y, pero with respect to x man, kaning 10, constant naman na daan, so wala problema. But, x to the fourth, so you will now have 4x cubed. So, that's partial derivative with respect to x. Klaro ni siya, yung 4x cubed? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what happens with respect to y? Pag with respect to y, kani constant na po. Ano sa derivative sa x to the fourth with respect to y? 0. Kani with respect to y, 0 po. Pero kaning 6 squared of y, what happens there? You can rewrite it as, what is the derivative of this one with respect to y? That will now become, you will have 0 ni, kaning with respect to y, this one is 0. Pero kana, ma-rewrite ko ni siya as, can rewrite this as x to the fourth plus 6y to the 1/2 minus 10. So, if you have your fxy, fy now will be, this is 0, kani will give you plus, okay, 6 times 1/2, then y to the 1/2 minus 1, diba? Then kani, ang derivative na kay 0 gihapon. So, what is 6 times 1/2? That is your 3. 3. Y to the 1/2 minus 1 is y to the negative 1/2. So, you have y. Okay? Let's take a look at this. W equals x squared y minus 10 to the y squared z cubed plus 43x minus tangent of 4y, 7 tangent of 4y. Pag with respect to x, kani siya, ang y diri is constant. So you will have 2xy. And then this one, wala man siya variable na x. So this entire thing becomes a constant again. So 0 ang iyang derivative with respect to x. Ang 43, with respect to x, this is the derivative of x with respect to x is 1. So I have 43 here. But how about tangent? Kani, again, y raman. So this becomes another constant. So 0 na po gyapon yung derivative. That's why the derivative of this with respect to x will give you 2xy plus 43. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Next, let's go to this one. This time with respect to, so let's take a look with respect to y. Pag with respect to y, kani siya will be 0. Correct? Constant naman eh. Kani, ang derivative gihapon na ni, dili na siya man 0, kaya naman siya y. So what will be the derivative with respect to y? With respect to y, this is supposed to be partial of y with respect to y is 1. So you'll have x squared. Minus, with respect to y, this becomes 20. Okay, 2 times negative 10, 20. So z cubed is a constant. So you have there negative 20y z cubed. 43x, this becomes 0. But in this case, tangent man siya. You remember what is the derivative of tangent? It is second squared. Pero na may 4 diha. So 4, this is supposed to be the value u there. So 7 times you have 4. So negative 28 second squared for y. Can you still remember yung mga derivative na formulas na amantay box? Do you remember that one? So do not forget katong atong magic box ha. Okay na? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, sige. Nasabtan ni ha? Anong second minus 28 seconds squared for y? Take a look at the next problem. This one, this time with respect to, so with respect to z. So with respect to z. With respect to z will give you, this time kani 0. Wala man say z. Kanina ay z cubed. So 3z squared. Tapos na may negative 10. So may siya negative 30 z squared yz. Correct? Kani 0 na po. Kani 0 na po. So the value will now be the following. Negative 30 y squared z squared. Ang higher order derivatives would be the derivative of the derivative, which we're going to discuss later on. Pero in the meantime, kanigi, sa isa raman ako ni, let's take a look at this one. Duha lang ka variable. So, s and t. If you're asked to find the derivative of the function here, so we can write the function muna as t to the 7 ln of s squared 9, this is t over t cubed. So 90 to the negative 3 minus 7th root of s to the 4th. Or you can write that as minus s raised to the 4 over 7. If you remember, mas dali man magkuha og derivative ng ani, di ba? Pag exponent ang mga values diha. So with respect to s muna. With respect to s, kani diri, kabalo na ta diretso nga no 0 ni. How about ang ln? Do you remember again what is the derivative of ln of u? Derivative of ln of u equals 1 over u du. Remember that? I hope na remember. But this is a product. No, product siya. Pero if you take a look, with respect to s man lang siya. So, ang derivative ana will now be, the derivative, partial derivative with respect to s will now be equal to t to the 7, kaning ln 1 over u, so 1 over s squared, correct? 1 over s squared then you have du. But what is the derivative of s? Ang sama ng u, s squared man. So du is your 2s. Plus 90 to the negative 3. Again, kay with respect to s man, so 0 ni siya. In derivative, partial derivative. Kaning negative s 4 to the 7, that is exponent, negative 4 over 7, s to the 4 will happen, you will have 4 over 7 minus 1. But what is that 4 over 7 minus 1? That is 4 over 7 minus 7 over 7, which is negative 3 over 7. So you have that. And when you rewrite that further, it will give you 2t to the 7th over s, because you can divide out s with and s squared there, cancel that out. So 2 to the t to the 7, and the s na lang mabiling sa bus, minus 4 over 7 s to the negative 3 over 7. So how about the partial derivative with respect to t? So with respect to t, kani siya, mahimo na po siyang constant po ang s with respect to t man. So constant ang s. So kanina po ang current derivative there, that will be 70 to the 6, correct? ln s squared. ln s squared. Natin. So we have this 70 to the 6 ln of s squared. And then kani siya 9 over t cubed. So 9 over t cubed, that becomes kanima na 9t to the negative 3. So negative 3 times 9, that's negative 27. T na minus 3 minus 1, t to the negative 4. But this one, 0 na pod kay with respect to t man. Nasusundan pa? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Guys, ma-follow pa? Dapat, kay kung dili mo ka-follow, minsan say na ay problema sa atong Math 060. Kaya Math 060 man nga, ang iyang basis ani is your Math 060. Because kani mga derivative aning cosine, what's the derivative of cosine? DCNS, derivative of cosine is negative sine. But remember, partial derivative lang. So, if with respect to x, kanina may x, okay lang, no? If you take the partial derivative with respect to x, that will become derivative cosine is negative sine, so negative sine for x. Then the derivative of this, diba? Derivative of cosine of u du. Derivative of cosine is equal to negative sine u du. So derivative na pod of 4 over x. But 4 over x can be rewritten as 4x to the negative 1. So, manang derivative niya kay negative 4 over x squared. Then, x squared y minus 5y cubed. Derivative of you remember what's the derivative of e to the u du. So, e to the u, that will give you e to the x squared minus 5y cubed du. But what is du? Derivative na po ani with respect to, this is a factor. So, derivative na po ani with respect to x. So, kani siya ma-constant, kanina po, ang derivative ani is 2x, y. That's why you have this 2xy. When you simplify that one further, okay, negative times negative will be positive. So, you have 4x squared over x squared. Kani, ilabas na lang yan. Then, you will have sine of 4x e to the x squared 5 minus 5y cube. Then you have 2xy cosine of this time 4 over x e to the x squared minus 5y cube. How about partial derivative of y? The function f of xy. So this time, kaning cosine diri, I think constant na siya. So, diri mo magbasa na po. So you will have to follow me. X squared minus x squared kay dy, give you 1 there, so x squared minus 3 times 5, 15y squared, cosine of 4x, constant na siya considered, e to the u. Bale, derivative lang sa e to the u du times this constant, which is 4 over x. Find all of the first order partial derivative. Okay, let's take a look at this. Yung basic na naman uli, partial derivative, di ba dapat ang derivative is derivative of quotient? So ZU now will give you derivative of quotient with respect to U man. So U squared plus 5B, this one. Then you have 9 low the high minus high the low over low squared. You remember that formula? So these are low squared. U squared plus 5B squared. Then low the high. Okay. Derivative of high. What's the derivative of high? With respect to U, that becomes 9. Your low is this, U squared. Minus high the low. So high, which is 9U. Derivative of this your low with respect to U will give you 2U. A constant man na siya, 5B. So you have that one. Naintindihan itong letter A? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Sige. Equals 9, negative 9U squared. So 9U squared plus 45B. Why? Negative 9U times 3 is negative 18U squared. Then plus 9U squared, that's why you have negative 9U squared. Then plus 5B, so you have 9 times 5B, you have plus 45B. So what's more happened here? What about the derivative, partial derivative of this function, C of V? C of V with respect to V na pod. So low squared lang gihapon ang we have low squared. But what is now the derivative of then low squared and low the high minus high the low? So low the high, what is the derivative of high with respect to V? Zero na. Low the high minus high the low. So you have this. Now equal to negative 45U over U squared plus 5B squared. I think you will just have to take a look at the other examples. Detailed yung solution because sa implicit, if you remember, you cannot take the value of the function as it is, but you have to kay ang iyang value diri kana 5x na may x gihapon. So you cannot express it as a function of x or as a function of y. You make use of the following. So you have to think of y as a function of x or y is equal to y of x. So whenever you differentiate a term involving y with respect to x, you will need the chain rule. That's one. So you are asked to find for dy dx for 3y to the 4th plus x to the 7th equals 5x. We have to differentiate both sides with respect to x. With respect to x, this becomes what value? 12y cubed dy dx. Okay. Any? Plus 7x to the 6 dx naman. dx. So that's why 1. So 7x na lang. 5x, derivative x with respect to x, you will have also 1. So that's why you have 5 there. I mean to say, you can now rewrite this. Kanima nang ipangita. Balhining 7x to the 5th. Okay, let me see. We'll have here 12y cubed dy dx equals 5 minus 7x to the 6. So meaning to say dy dx equals, you divide both sides by 12y cubed. 5 minus 7x over 12y cubed. Which is this. You divide both sides. You get that. Again, how did we get this? Pag dili pa nakuha, you have 4 times 3, that's 12y cubed. Diba? With this dy, with respect to x man, dy dx. Then 7x to the 6, dx over x. So you have 7x to the 6 lang. 3 times 4y cubed Ikuha ng derivative. dy dx plus 7x to the 6, correct? Dx, with respect to x man, dx equals 5 dx dx. So, this one, dx is 1, dx is 1, so dy dx man siya. I have this. Let's take a look at this. X cubed z squared minus 5xy to the 5th z equals x squared plus y cubed. Again, we have to find the derivative of this, partial derivative. I think we have partial of z muna with respect to x. So partial of z with respect to x, you will have to add on partial of z with respect to x whenever you try to differentiate a z from the chain rule. So let's have that one. Ito natin, pisa natin. 3x squared, z squared plus 2x cubed. Balikan muna para makita ninyo balik. Ano siya, you will have baka ni pen, okay. X cubed, z squared. So, 3x squared, derivative niya, z squared, so, ikuhaan ano na lang, para makita niyo. 3x squared, okay, dx, tapos you will have your z squared, okay, minus 5xy to the 4th z. So, you'll have there, plus pa muna, plus, derivative na po with respect to z na po, plus, okay, 2, aning 2 diri, x cubed, okay, dz, anong z squared kay, z na lang na, patangan ako z, z minus 1, z dz, partial with respect to x, or partial of z with respect to x, minus, okay, kanina po, 5, that's 5, okay, ang x diha, kung paano partial derivative with respect to x na, no, or 5y to the 5th, so constant na sila tanan, z, then, dx, okay, dx equals, kani will be 2x, then dx, I have 2x there, then y cubed, so plus man na siya, dapat 3y squared, pero may man siyang dy dx. So, wala man siya x, so that's why it's actually a 0 there, kaya dy dx constant muna diha, no? Akin yung burahin. Oops. Let's see. Wala na yun dyan. Okay, constant na yan. So, when you rewrite 3x squared dx there, you have 3x squared. 1 man yun siya, muna mabilin kay 3x squared z squared. Then 2x cubed z dz dx. We have 2x cubed z is partial z with respect to x, muna siya dz dx. Then kani minus 5y to the 5th z dx dx. You know that dx dx is 1, so muna kanina lang. Then equals negative 5xy partial of z. Kulang pa pala to. Kaning negative 5xy with respect to z na pod. With respect to z na pod ni siya diri. Kulang ng isa. Ano yan? Kani kay dapat 5xy to the 5th with respect to z. So, sorry ha, may isa pa yung dapat ito. Minus 5x 5y to the 5th then partial of z. So, we have dz. Napa may dz. dx. Same manner na kaning duha para lang na diri. Kani siya, kaning duha para diri. So, x squared para diri kani. So, you have this. So, if you try to write that one, you now have 3x squared z squared plus 2x cubed z, partial of z with respect to x, minus 5y to the fifth z, minus 5xy to the fifth. Partial of z with respect to x equals 2x. So, kaning dahil partial of z, you group that together so that you will now have partial of z with respect to x will now be kani 2x cubed z, which is this. Then, apa yung partial of z kani? So, you have your minus 5xy, this one. And then, 3x squared z squared is here. When you transfer, kanina side, may siyang minus. Then, minus 5y to the fifth. So, pagbalin sa pikas, may siyang plus. Ayan, plus. Then, na may 2x daan. So, you have your 2x there. So, rewriting again, you will now have, you divide the entire thing by kani. So it will be that. Okay? So, medyo mahirap actually ang implicit differentiation. Pero pag mag-practice mo, makuha na. How about partial of z with respect to y? You will now have the following. So, we just, similar lang katong ganina, gibuhat na ko. There's an exercise here. I can do that later on. Pero na may set of exercises na ihatag na ko later.